So, the first episode of Life is Strange just came out this past weekend, and what do I think of it? Well, like the title implies, it certainly is strange. It's about a teenage girl named Max who discovers that she has time control powers. And when she comes across a murder that takes place in the girl's bathroom, she uses her powers to undo the events that took place, and then plot happens. The element of time control is a really interesting thing to bring up in this, because being a choice and consequence game, your choices are going to change the outcome in future installments. And they really do base a lot of the choices that you make around the fact that you can go back and change your outcome. However, there is a certain limit to how far you can actually go. Once you exit a set piece, that's it. That's your decision on that part for the entire rest of the chapter. Unless you want to, read your journal and jump back to that point in time, and then redo that entire section again. The ability to reverse time and change your outcome based on what information that you've acquired from an interaction is a very interesting thing to play around with, and they do actually use it to their advantage, especially to its artistic design, because when you approach someone, you're compelled to actually just talk to them first, and then once you've figured out that this conversation is not going to go anywhere, you can reverse time and start the conversation all over again with the knowledge you've acquired. And this actually works because our main character Max is really much a loner and really not very social. So she's gonna really fumble on trying to interact with other people. So it's kind of her safe haven of going back, changing the events of what she said, and making it sound like she's a more interesting person, getting people to open up to her and talk to her. And it actually really works. The characters you meet in this story are straight up archetypes of the typical high school setting. The bullies, the jocks, the cheerleaders, the mean girls, the nerds. And considering that this is a school for the arts, you're gonna see some strange kids. But you know what, they're interesting, and they do have some relatively complex things about them that are intriguing to delve into. And you can make every single person here either your friend, your enemy, or you can just straight up ignore everyone who's not of plot significance. Hell, you can even abandon key plot details like retrieving a hard drive that you were going to get for your friend. I mean, that's the main driving plot point of one section, and you can just straight up forget about it and just go to the next section. However, there are pivotal stuff that you have to do towards the end of each section in this episode. Stuff that'll truly alter the way future events play out. There are also small things that you could do to alter the events of the future. And you can either choose to either engage this or not engage it. However, there is always a cost of doing it and not doing it. And like I said, you can just go back to the Check to the Select stream and just go back and relive a past event because you have time control powers. Jump it all the way back, why don't you? Not really much else to say about this game other than I really am intrigued by the story, and I really do like a lot of these characters, even though they're kind of all one note. They're still interesting one notes. So I guess I'll just tell you about the events that unfolded in my experience of the game. When I started the game, I was very curious to figure out what actually the supernatural element was, and turns out it's exactly what it is: time travel or time control. And very grandeur in its portrayal since it's the entire overlying hook. So playing this, I got the idea that I should play this with the idea that my actions can be undone and chosen for better. Little did I know that these dilemmas that they are presenting to me are actually very hard to figure out. The dilemmas that they present are really just a question of moral standing. Do you continue being a loner and just shy away and collect information from afar? Or do you intervene, interject, become an outgoing person? So throughout my entire playthrough of this episode, I went through by breaking down all the barriers that Max has set up for her, just so she can open up with the character and so I can get a little bit more information about the world. So yes, I did rat out crazy rich boy Nathan to the principal. And looking back on retrospect, it probably wasn't a good idea to do that. Because A, considering the accusation, the principal doesn't really understand the concept of confidentiality. So he just fucking blabs Max's name to him. So now he knows who I am. And B, the principal just flat out dismisses your argument because Nathan's family owns the school. Therefore, he can't be a bad boy.
Oh man, you're telling me what to do?
Get away from her, dude!
And I really wasn't helping myself when I signed that petition for less school security and let that kid draw me and post it to Facebook. Once I was in the front yard, however, I made it my personal agenda to talk to every single person that I could see so I could get into their conversation, screw it up immensely, then find out what they were really about, learn from the fucked up conversation that we had, reverse time, and then use that information against them so I can fish them for information. Then I moved on to the dorm area where a lot of more interesting things happen. Mainly, you get to punch Victoria in the face. No, you don't actually get to punch her in the face. That would have been cool though. What actually happens is you are able to confront Victoria by either continually thinking her she's a bitch, or you can just try to make peace with her. You know, break down that barrier and that preconceived notion that she is some sort of hateful person. Of course, once you actually get inside the dorms, you'll learn that she doesn't deserve your concern, but whatever, you know, breaking down barriers and such. You should also note that you keep running into creepy security guard guy. That's important stuff, write that down.
You're part of the problem, Missy. I will remember this conversation.
And after being presented with a few interesting dilemmas, you make your way to the parking lot where you meet up with your best friend, and that's where Crazy Nathan comes in. He's got a few issues.
Leave him alone!
Nobody tells me what to do. Not my parents, not the principal,
Stop that!
or that whore in the
Right now!
bathroom.
Of course, I stood up to Nathan because fuck that guy. And it's at that moment that your good old friend Chloe shows up to save your ass. Soon after, you're taken back to Chloe's house where you find out that her dad is the head of security at the school. And that guy's kind of a douchebag. It should be noted that you can screw up some environments and it will affect how the story plays out later. So I stand up for my good friend Chloe because she was a cool girl from saving me from getting killed by a murderer, potential murderer. And I tell her stepdad that I am the one who had the doobie. And then we escape through the window for some reason. And then we get to the lighthouse area, which is the area that you start off in a flashback or flash forward. And it's at this point, after we see some pivotal character development on their side, that this flash forward was actually a prediction of the future. A vision, warning Max of a great disaster that's going to befall their little town. Plot-wise, this is actually an interesting hook for the series. A huge disaster is coming towards the town and only one person is aware of it's coming, except maybe a few meteorologists, but fuck those guys. Will Max be able to convince the entire town to evacuate before a tornado comes and wrecks their shit? Because there is no reason why these people should ever trust what she says. I mean, she's telling people that psycho rich kids are actually psychos, and she's being nice to mean girls and hippie jocks. What world is this? So by what's been presented so far, I can actually say that I'm actually pretty psyched for episode 2. And they really did leave a lot to the imagination of what's going to happen in episode 2. So if you think you're interested in Life is Strange, I guarantee you it's actually pretty good.
That is a tasty plasma. Maybe I could sneak in and watch Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I don't care what anybody says, that's one of the best sci-fi films ever made.
Never mind, to take it back, 0 out of 10.